Hey everyone, welcome to the Your Money Life podcast. We're on episode 263 of the podcast. Make sure wherever you're listening, you like, subscribe, five-star rate, and review this pod. Before we get started, first and foremost, if I sound any different, I'm a little bit under the weather, but of course I showed up to work. I mean, work for me is just going into my office. Remember when you had to call into work for 9 to 5? It felt like so weird, so wrong, but also so good because you just needed that time off to rest. And it was like a stay home from school day. But yeah, when you work for yourself, you can get things done and you love working. So you kind of just do what you got to do. Must be going around. Actually, I've been doing a good job of not getting sick until now. I have a minor sickness. So we're good to go. We are good to go with this little cold. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, five-star fit rate and review. Let's jump into the market and see what is happening here this week. I think there was a couple of interesting things that we should hopefully be able to get into if the computer allows us to get into it. Let's jump into it. First and foremost, let's hide our controls and let's jump into what's going on in the market. A number came out for us on inflation, and it was a little bit hotter than expected. So we've been seeing the inflation numbers steadily dip, but we had the consumer price index and the producer price index numbers for this month come in a little bit hotter than expected. And so the market in futures yesterday, if you're listening on Thursday, had a little bit of a scare and they pulled back a little bit. But during the course of the trading day, it actually went back to about flat or a little bit lower. So it wasn't such a crazy thing. Maybe the market readjusted the data and had a change of course. But the latest PPI numbers, which show what producers get for their goods and services, reflected a 0.4% increase for January. That's higher than the consensus estimate. But stocks are rising on this data despite the hot number on the surface. The latest PPI report and Wednesday's consumer price index point to a softer PCE price index than traders fear. So that PCE price index measures, which will be released in February, is what the Federal Reserve closely tracks. So Wall Street is we're coming off a choppy Wednesday, but today, as the market has opened, it's opened a little bit higher to start the day slightly. So again, they've digested this information. They're okay. In the past week, we're a little bit lower. In the past month, we are up, 3.45%. And year to date, since the beginning of the year, we're only not even 2 months into the year, we're up 2.56% year to date. So that's what the market's giving us. And we said again, we thought we'd start the year off strong before there's any dips to come. And so that's precisely what we're seeing so far. And yeah, you've got that. So let's jump into current news. Current news. I think there wasn't much craziness. I think the first one I wanted to look into was Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He said that he dismisses any anti-return to office petition. So he's CEO of JP Morgan Chase. If you don't know, Jamie Dimon, he said during a staff meeting Wednesday that the employees shouldn't waste time opposing its 5 day a week in office work requirement. He said he doesn't care how many people sign this petition. And this is a petition urging a reversal of the policy. He said in a recording reviewed by Reuters. So someone in the meeting reviewed recorded his comments, sent it to their Reuters. They were the source. And this was the combative staff meeting. It wasn't like a friendly. He was like, "Hey, you guys better do this," and they're like, "Oh, blah." The combative staff meeting took place at the first of several anticipated rounds of layoffs. I did not know that. Hit the banking giant, and after JP Morgan notched record profit and revenue in 2024. And here's Ashley Graff. She is, I don't know who this is, but she has a story on LinkedIn. She said, I've been sitting with these thoughts for weeks, struggling to find the right words to express what's on my mind. But as I watch the discourse unfold around Jamie Dimon's announcement ending remote work, I feel compelled to share my perspective, especially been since I just began a consulting position there in January, hired with promises of hybrid work and potential for full remote flexibility. The situation echoes my experience in 2022 when I accepted a position in New York City based on the assurance of a 2 day office requirement, a promise that quickly disappeared after I started. For me, remote work wasn't merely about convenience. It was about maintaining vital connections with my family, particularly grandparents in Delaware. The ability to seamless transition between New York and Delaware was essential to my life. And she goes into a little bit more right reasons why. So, man, this is tough. I don't know. I think a lot of people are doing it. Some aren't. I think Remote work is amazing. For someone speaking to someone that does it all the time, can work wherever he wants. It's amazing. I know not everyone is able to do it, and I do know for company productivity is probably better with people in the office. I would assume on the basis. I think hybrid again. I've said it. I think hybrid's probably the best for the company to retain top talent and to be able to get the best and most efficient work. I think for the person, the employee, I do think remote work is awesome. Like, of course, you want to work wherever you want to work and work when you want and have that flexibility. That's awesome. That's the best. That truly is the best. Owning your time is what people want more than anything, right? To be able to own your own time is a huge thing. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Hopefully, there's a resolution for those folks. New York Stock Exchange plans to open up an exchange in Texas to meet growing demand from businesses moving to the state. The electronic New York Stock Exchange Chicago will be reincorporated into the Lone Star State as TXSE Group. With the trading set to begin in early 26, it's if approved, the Dallas-based TXSE could challenge the dominance of the NYC and Nasdaq. However, one analyst tells Reuters he's skeptical the TXSE will dramatically change the listing exchange landscape. So interesting. I mean, why they want to list some Texas or have an exchange in Texas, up to them. Story isn't that crazy. I'm curious to see how it pans out. There's been dominant players in the space for a while with New York and Nasdaq, and so I just don't see that being upended anytime soon. But we'll watch them. We'll watch and see. Zelle payments top 1 trillion in 2024. Zelle moved more than 1 trillion last year, blowing past rivals PayPal and Venmo and Cash App. Interesting. So Zelle is that's okay. Wait. So Zelle. Oh, okay. So Zelle is the payment network owned by the seven major U.S. banks, of course, through the joint venture. Early warning services experiencing meteoric growth as more customers shift away from using cash and checks, while small businesses simultaneously increase adoption of Zelle as a payment option. Zelle said it also addressed fraud response and slow reimbursement complaints. Okay, yeah, I get that. Of course, the seven major banks band together, excuse me, created a payment network. We all know this. Zelle, everyone's used it. And now they passed 1 trillion. They're blowing past PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. That's not surprising to me because again, you think of like how the biggest banks work. They already have a built-in base. Not surprising at all. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think it makes sense, and they are going to continue to blow past them in terms of 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 money moved on the platform. Have gig economy companies ended their money losing streak? So of course, gig economy companies, your DoorDash, your Uber Eats, your Ubers, they're companies that need scale. They're really hard to build. They're really hard to build the platform, but they used to rack up hundreds of million losses. Really, DoorDash is an example. They reported 123 million of net income in 2024. So they've changed the course of the losses and they reported income. They still operated a loss of $30 million, $38 million, but for the full year, they did have a profit. Lyft, an early entrant to the rideshare scene, just eked out a $23 million profit. So these companies are starting to find a way to be profitable, which is actually credible. Incredible. After years of waiting, the gig economy is finally out. They scaled to the amount where everyone's using it. They filled out the algorithms. They figured out the most efficient routes. They figured out how to pay, all these different things, streamline their operations, and they're now turning profits. That's actually really a good takeaway, and something people should keep their eyes on, to be honest. There's a couple more. I thought this was interesting. More people watch YouTube on TVs than on their phones. When YouTube launched 20 years, it was only 20 years ago. Wow. There wasn't even an iPhone yet when it launched, but it grew quickly. Now that people are watching billions of hours of YouTube every day for the first time, they're doing it more on TVs than on their phones. Interesting. Well, I'm an iPad guy. I don't really watch it on my phone that often. Or the wife and I have actually started watching it on the big screen. If we find something that we both want to like are interested in together, we'll watch on the big screen, which it is true. We are turning away from, I'm not a big phone YouTube watcher. I'm more of a iPad and or the big screen now. And so this makes sense to me. It's becoming just a part of, it's funny enough, we just watched all the Super Bowl performances from 2020 to 2025 last night. The wife and I, we just watched them because we were just bored and we had fun watching them. We weren't bored, we were actually having fun already, but we watched them. Um, okay, we had to break them down. Let's break down the performance. Super Bowl one, I was wrong. I thought the Chiefs would win with ease. I have connections there, of course, and yeah, we lost. But they'll be back. They'll be back again. Eagles, great team. We just got to give it to them. They were just a loaded roster, great team. I again thought the Chiefs would win. They did not. So we had tip our hat to them, and we'll be back. Super Bowl halftime performance. What did you think? I would love to hear the thoughts on the halftime performance. For me, it was lackluster. Wasn't great. Was not the best. I do think the whole rap beef thing really good. He did a great job of doing the rap beef, but it just wasn't a great performance. Boring. People didn't know the songs. Totally understand that. If you look from 2020 to this most recent one, the best performance is Usher hands down. Look it, go through it. It was J Lo and Shakira, who I gave second place. The Weeknd, Dr. Dre and his crew, and then 2024, and then who was after that? Actually, blanking out one of them. It might have been Usher after that, and then it was Rihanna. Oh, the forgettable. Yeah, that was a forgettable performance. And then it was Usher, and then it was Kendrick. So again, you have those five. You have to put Usher one, and then the J Lo one second, and then you go from there. I don't know. You can mix and match them, but they were not that great. But yeah, that's kind of my take on the Super Bowl. A forgettable one. It wasn't that exciting. We'll keep moving on from it. But of course, the advertisements. Actually, were there any good ones this year? Does anyone have any good advertisements from the takeaways? I can't remember any. But yeah, that's our Super Bowl wrap up. Again, a forgettable one, and we'll move on from this Super Bowl and we'll get ready for next year. GameStop is now teasing a possible strategy shift. They're always doing that. I feel like they're always changing strategy. First, it was, they've always stayed to brick and mortar, but it was some of the strategy that they had, and then they had the strategy they were buying iPhones that had TikTok on them. They're doing whatever it takes. There was crypto strategy. They're doing whatever it takes to stay alive, which I actually kind of commend, to be honest. But Ryan Cohen is the CEO of GameStop, apparently, obviously. So he yesterday it saw the stock saw a 10% pop following a tweet. It appears that that they're looking to um, Roaring Kitty and the CEO. They're looking to do some different things. So let's read more into it. Um, Cohen tweeted a photo of himself with none other than Michael Saylor. So if you don't know who Michael Saylor is, he's CEO and co-founder of a strategy of MicroStrategy, which until last week was known as, oh, it was MicroStrategy, but now it's just called Strategy. Interesting. What does that mean? I'm actually curious. So he's this Michael Saylor, founder of Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, is a company that just actually I'm not even sure their main business model again, but I know that they buy a lot of Bitcoin. They generate bills, bonds to buy Bitcoin, a lot of it. And he's a really smart guy, but he's hinged his whole business model on the rise of Bitcoin, which again, kudos to him. We've always been a proponent of owning cryptocurrency and have for a while. We said that. So I'm curious what's going to happen there. They're just kind of linking up. Maybe it's a crypto strategy that we don't know of yet, but we'll keep our eyes on it and see what this means. Let's get into a couple of things. A question this week, which I thought was good. It was a really good one. A couple of really good ones. What are the top five gifts consumers plan to give for Valentine's Day? Flowers, of course. Jewelry, of course. I think we got this question last year, but this is a new one, so it might have changed. Flowers, jewelry, candy. Do people still do like teddy bears and the stuffed animals and stuff? I mean, the kids might do that. Food, cookies, assortments, treats. Candy, got it. Flowers, oh, greeting cards, and evening out, of course. Jewelry as well. That was pretty close. That was good. That was good. Next question. How much does a TikTok creator earn for a video with 1 million views? 5,000? I don't know. Oh, 20 to $40. I was way off there. They pay around 2 to 4 pennies for every 1,000 views, so that makes sense. Lastly, we, meaning myself and the New Street Advisors community, we did join a board of AIG Baltimore. AIGA is a design creative community that has chapters across the country. And we've been lucky enough to do a lot of great workshops there in DC, in Baltimore. We have one coming up in New York. And I just joined the board of the treasurer to help this program, this incredible community and program, one, streamline and their operations, financial management, engage in our community and grow resources. So tap into that if you have a chance. And some of my clients already tapped into it, but keep your eye out for that. We do have the New York workshop coming up in March, where it'll be a three-part series on the 14th, 21st, and 28th of March. So make sure you're tapped into that. That's going to be a really, really credible and powerful for the creative designers, anyone that wants to learn about finance. And you can read the description when they put it out to see. Then we have other workshops with Morgan State coming up in March. New Street Sports growing. Like we have two new people we signed that are really looking like they're ready to work and do some great things at the next level, the professional level. So of course, people stay tapped into what we're doing. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. We'll talk to you next week.